Guys and gals, brothers and sisters, my nerds, I won't spend more than a minute on the intro and get straight into every version of Daredevil's suit across comics and digital versions, but before that, let me just tell you how we're gonna approach this video. We're gonna explore the comic versions, but with some special attention to the Shadowland miniseries. You can skip that if you've already read the 5-issue event, and after covering Shadowland, we're gonna be moving into the 6 versions of the live-action Daredevil suit. One final request, please consider subscribing to us. That small click from you will do us wonders in bringing you these marvelous videos. So now, let's get into it. Prototype suit. So before I get into his various suits and the crazy things they each do, I think we should talk about the original costume. I mean, the prototype costume that Matt donned for the first time. He used the prototype costume for a while in the Daredevil TV show, which we'll explore later on when we explore the MCU version of the suit. However, in the comic, more specifically, Frank Miller's Daredevil, The Man Without Fear 4 from 1993, Matt Murdock comes back to his city only to find that his locality, that is Hell's Kitchen, has fallen into a state of absolute despair, decay, and disrepair. He wanted to do something about it, but it all seemed like a humongous task. Anyways, he meets a young girl named Mickey who was hiding in Fogwell's gym. Speaking of Mickey, have you any thoughts on Mickey 17? I know, off topic, but I was indeed very curious. Coming back to our story, this was also the time when good old Wilson Fisk was in the business of getting handsy with children. You know, child pornography and prostitution. One day, Fisk asked his men to bring him another child, and guess who they snagged for him? Of course, it was Daredevil's new friend Mickey. Needless to say, the Man Without Fear was pissed off, and he wasted no time in donning a rudimentary costume that had a black bandana to cover half his face, a black sweatshirt, and a pair of black sweatpants. Armed with the goal of rescuing the children Fisk had in his possession, and dressed like a nighttime vigilante, Matt Murdock started his journey as Daredevil. But of course, this wasn't his first suit chronologically, because Daredevil as a character first appeared in 1964 in Daredevil Volume 1, Issue 1, written by, of course, none other than Stan Lee. So in his first ever appearance, Daredevil wore a yellow and black body-hugging suit that had on its chest a large D in red. Later on, this D would be styled a bit more, and you could see that a single D was now 2 overlapping Ds. However, this yellow suit with double Ds didn't do well and disappeared, only to give rise to the now famous red suit. By Daredevil issue 7, he was working on his new costume. In the end, the suit also came with a pair of red lenses, and the double D was retained and it was now outlined with black. Interestingly enough, Daredevil also had an armored suit. So there's this short story called Fall from Grace, which starts in Daredevil 320. It's kind of about cyborgs and demons, and even Hellspawn for that matter, but unfortunately enough, we don't have the time to go over the plot. However, in Fall from Grace, Daredevil wore this heavily armored suit to fight Hellspawn. As for his original red suit, it was destroyed during his battle with Wildpack, a team of outlaws once brought together by Ernst Sablenova, the father of Silver Sablenova, or Silver Sable, to track down and apprehend international criminals. Next up, we've got the Shadowland suit from the 5-issue miniseries called Shadowland. Here, his suit was mostly black with some red outlines. You know what? Before I explore Daredevil's MCU and alternate reality suits, I'll just dive deeper into this story. It's an interesting one, and I'm hoping you'll find it worthwhile. Shadowland. Matt Murdock never thought he'd land in this kind of mess, but sometimes life tosses you a curveball and you can't dodge it. He set out to clean up Hell's Kitchen as Daredevil, but ended up taking command of the Hand, an ancient ninja clan with a reputation for dark practices, and built a fortress called Shadowland right in the heart of his old neighborhood. Everything spiraled out of control from that moment on. It started with grim dark whispers in Japan. 3 Hand mystics wondered if Daredevil would ever cross a moral line and corrupt himself. Their vision spelled doom if he did. It would be the end of mankind, with only their sinister Snake Root faction spared. Meanwhile, the villain Bullseye was on his way to a high-security prison known as the Raft. He taunted the guards, claiming he was the only one able to stop the Sentry's rumored return because they were briefly on a team together. They dismissed his words until he faked a heart attack, tricked them into removing his restraints, then slaughtered the entire security detail. He slipped away and headed straight for Daredevil's newly constructed fortress, ready to make some trouble. Over at Avengers Tower, folks were uneasy about the new direction Daredevil was taking. The Avengers saw a wave of instability after Hammer shut down and worried about Daredevil's leadership of the Hand. There were rumors of people disappearing in Hell's Kitchen. Luke Cage and Iron Fist got sent to talk some sense into Matt with strict orders to make him end this Shadowland business. If he refused, they would force the issue. Bullseye made quite the entrance by killing one of Daredevil's rooftop lookouts to draw Matt into a fight. Matt arrived, backed by a host of hand ninjas, and swore Bullseye would never hurt another innocent soul. But Bullseye mowed through the ninjas like he was slicing through butter. Luke Cage and Iron Fist tried to help, but Daredevil shut them down unless they swore loyalty to the Hand. Matt then took on Bullseye alone, snapping his shoulder out of place and, in an unthinkable move, running him through with his own sai. That single moment jolted everyone who witnessed it. Daredevil had always flirted with a line, but now he seemed to cross it outright. Word spread fast. People whispered that Daredevil had lost his way. Cage and Iron Fist believed Matt felt some regret, but whatever the case was, he had brought a new kind of fear to the streets. Tempers flared everywhere, and Wilson Fisk, also known as the Kingpin, slid back into the picture. He strolled into a soup kitchen Iron Fist owned, suggested he might step in to save Hell's Kitchen if Daredevil kept spiraling, then departed with a smug hint that Daredevil's reign might not last. Inside Shadowland, Matt showed zero remorse for killing Bullseye. He wanted to recruit more costumed heroes to the Hand's cause with or without their consent. Anyone who stood against him was the enemy. Meanwhile, Kingpin was cooking up his own plan. He enlisted Lady Bullseye to steal an ancient scroll that could summon a destructive force known as the Zugai Kotsu, and seemed eager to unleash chaos right under Daredevil's nose. A ragtag group of heroes rallied to talk some sense into Matt. Cage and Iron Fist brought Shang-Chi, Misty Knight, and Colleen Wing. They bluffed about joining the Hand, hoping to get close enough to Daredevil to find out what was really happening. Spider-Man dropped in too, recalling how his own black suit days never ended well. Deep under the fortress, Moon Knight, working undercover, discovered that the Hand was jailing both criminals and cops in the same dank cells. He broke free, spotted Ghost Rider blazing his way through the prison, and realized even more trouble was brewing. Upstairs, Daredevil decided his old friends needed to die for opposing his new order. He showed off fresh supernatural abilities they'd never seen him use before. He toppled Iron Fist and Shang-Chi, dodged Spider-Man's web attacks, and then called on Typhoid Mary to take Spidey down. Misty Knight shoved Spider-Man out of harm's way, and the Punisher showed up guns blazing. They barely escaped, only to find Hell's Kitchen erupting in riots. Meanwhile, Kingpin and Lady Bullseye kept tabs on the chaos. She warned him about using Ghost Rider as a pawn, but Kingpin felt secure behind the protection of that stolen scroll. Let Ghost Rider strike at the Hand, he figured. He'd pick up the pieces later. Back in Shadowland, Daredevil grew more paranoid. Tarantula suggested caution, but Matt wanted stronger fighters. He dragged Typhoid Mary along to dig up a new recruit. The twisted plan? Resurrect Bullseye to serve the Hand. Right then, Elektra popped up, offered her allegiance, and no one knew her real motivation. Moon Knight watched from the shadows, taking notes on Daredevil's bizarre new moves and alliances. Outside, the heroes licked their wounds, confused by Matt's drastic power surge. Iron Fist suspected the man they saw wasn't entirely Matt Murdock anymore. The Punisher felt that was reason enough to put him down, no questions asked. Just then, an old blind martial arts master named Izo announced that the Snake Root cult had turned Daredevil into a vessel for the Beast of the Hand, a demonic force that craved total darkness and carnage. Izo admitted his own naive hope that Matt could reform the Hand had backfired in the worst way. Elektra soon led a stealthy strike team through a hidden access tunnel in Shadowland. She welcomed Luke Cage, Wolverine, the Punisher, Iron Fist, Spider-Man, Master Izo, and Shang-Chi inside. They wanted to stop Daredevil before he completed any resurrection ritual. Meanwhile, Kingpin and Lady Bullseye watched the city tear itself apart. He planned for an even bigger shift in power once Daredevil fell. Once the heroes reached Daredevil's ritual chamber, the tension grew thick enough to slice with a katana. Daredevil was moments away from raising Bullseye from the dead. The group attacked, but Daredevil shrugged off their best hits. Wolverine tried stabbing him, but Matt pulled the claws out and hurled him into a pillar. Spidey tried webbing him up, the Punisher fired bullet after bullet, but Daredevil slipped through everything. Typhoid Mary tried a burst of fire, but Spider-Man webbed her flames before they caused serious damage. The team pinned Daredevil down for a moment, and Elektra begged Matt to fight the Beast's grip. But the voice that answered sounded nothing like Matt Murdock, and it announced that Murdock was gone and only the Beast remained. Hell's Kitchen descended into riots that left the NYPD helpless. Mayor J. Jonah Jameson wondered why the Avengers didn't sweep in. Foggy Nelson, Matt's longtime friend, tried scaling the Shadowland walls but took a nasty fall. Ghost Rider caught him in midair, set him on the roof, and charged headlong at Daredevil. The demonic rider found out that Daredevil was immune to his usual tricks. Matt siphoned Ghost Rider's fire, leaving him weak and confused. White Tiger dragged Foggy before Daredevil. She planned to slit Foggy's throat for the Beast's pleasure. Daredevil wanted to finish it himself, but Foggy's pleas for their old friendship struck a chord. Foggy reminded him of his real identity and all the good he once did. That gave the other heroes an opening. Master Izo knocked out White Tiger, and Iron Fist unleashed every ounce of chi he had against Daredevil. Elektra guided Matt's mind, wiped away his self-doubt, and helped him see the truth. In a mental realm, she handed him a sword, and he drove it through his own chest to purge the Beast. Right then, the riot outside lost its intensity and people woke up from their enraged state as if someone lifted a demonic fog. The heroes paused to catch their breath, only to find Daredevil's body gone. No one saw where it went and no one had any idea what that meant for Matt's future. Elektra found his discarded mask and kept her thoughts to herself. Meanwhile, Kingpin met Typhoid Mary and used a secret phrase that unlocked a hidden fourth personality inside her, guaranteeing his control over the Hand. He had lost interest in the usual gangster turf wars because commanding the Hand offered a higher level of power. Not long after, Matt Murdock walked into a small church, prepared to confess his sins to a priest. He carried the weight of his dark actions, unsure where he belonged in a city he once loved. Maybe he hoped for forgiveness, maybe he knew his penance would last a lifetime, but the man called Daredevil had lived through darkness that most people couldn't imagine, and he still had a pulse and, maybe more importantly, a conscience. Hell's Kitchen would recover one way or another. As for Matt Murdock, his path was wide open, another chapter waiting to unfold in a life that never stayed simple for long. So yeah, that was the Shadowland story arc, and now let's talk about a couple of alternate realities where the Daredevil legacy shows up in some pretty wild ways. First off, there's Earth 2992, where Sam Fisk, Matt's successor, decides to shoulder his family's bad reputation and honor Daredevil's memory at the same time. In Daredevil 2099, he creates this cutting-edge suit that boosts his strength, agility, and toughness. Thing basically does half the work for him. He only starts a motion and the suit runs with it and finishes the job. He packs a reimagined version of Daredevil's billy club and 2 pistols in hidden compartments on the suit's thighs. He's always ready for trouble. The suit itself has a top-tier surveillance and targeting system that locks onto threats and even lines up his shots. To sweeten the deal, there are mini rockets built into the wrist and boots that give him serious airtime on jumps, and the armor's even bulletproof to boot. Sam Fisk is no Matt Murdock, but he means business when he steps into that outfit, hoping to right a few of his family's wrongs. Now let's take a look at Earth 21798. This time, Matt Murdock himself takes a very different turn. In Heroes Reborn, American Knights 1, he's a cleric dressed in a red suit marked with a snake emblem across the chest and on his belt. That serpent design represents the form Mephisto once took. So these are the most prominent and important looks of Daredevil's suit in the comic books, and now that we've covered all of them, we can move on to the live-action versions of his suit. In fact, there are 6 of these, and we're going to explore each one. Suit 1. The Black Homemade Vigilante Outfit. Matt Murdock's first attempt at becoming a masked guardian was pretty basic, much like the comic version. He threw together a black outfit with bits and pieces he bought online. Augie Nelson actually teased him for not sewing it himself, but Matt shrugged this off because, hey, he never learned how. He wore a simple black mask that wrapped around his head, plus matching black clothes that let him blend into the shadows of Hell's Kitchen. He didn't want bulky armor because it would weigh him down and make him lose the edge his heightened senses gave him. He liked to dodge bullets rather than tank them. Claire Temple warned him this was a risky choice because he kept coming home bruised and bloody, and she feared that one day he might not get back up. But Matt believed agility was his best defense. That gamble nearly backfired when he faced Wilson Fisk. Fisk had a special suit lined with a durable, knife-resistant fabric, so Matt's black clothes didn't stand a chance if Fisk got in close. After that fight, Matt realized that maybe he needed something more protective. Something that wouldn't slow him down, but might actually keep his organs in one piece. Key capabilities of the Homemade Vigilante Outfit. Lightweight design for maximum mobility, zero armor plating which keeps him agile but vulnerable, stealth-oriented, entirely black, perfect for blending into dark alleys, minimal gear. No high-tech add-ons, just raw skill and heightened senses. Suit 2. The Red Devil of Hell's Kitchen Armor. After his clash with Fisk, Matt went searching for the guy who made Fisk's near-indestructible suit, aka Melvin Potter. Melvin, forced to work for Fisk to protect someone he cared about, eventually agreed to help Matt once Matt promised to keep Betsy Beatty safe. The result was a red horned costume that turned the press's nickname, Daredevil, into reality. This suit offered a serious upgrade over Matt's black pajamas. Made from the same ultra-durable material used in Fisk's outfit, it was light and breathable but still bullet-resistant in key spots, mostly the black portions. The red areas could deflect knives if the angle wasn't too steep, though these sections were incomplete because Melvin ran out of time. Still, it was enough for Matt to survive another round with Fisk. When Matt confronted his enemy in an alley, Fisk's punches didn't cave in Matt's chest the way they would have before. Key capabilities of the Red Devil of Hell's Kitchen Armor. Hybrid fabric that balances flexibility and protection. Bullet-resistant black portions with red sections that sometimes deflect blades. First cowl with devil horns capitalizing on fear and mystique. Light enough for Matt's acrobatic fighting style. Suit 3, the upgraded red suit from Season 2. When the Punisher arrived on the scene, Matt discovered that his current gear might not be tough enough. Bullets came flying from Frank Castle's arsenal, and the first version of Matt's red suit got a nasty crack in the helmet. So he went back to Melvin Potter, who insisted on building an entirely new model. Matt didn't love waiting around, but he knew a quick patch job wouldn't cut it. This upgraded version reinforced the red portions with extra plating, making the entire suit sturdier and more balanced. Potter also crafted a new helmet with a carbon nanotube-based alloy. That fancy term meant it was nearly indestructible, with red tinted lenses that would hide Matt's eyes. The gloves were advanced alloy gauntlets, giving Matt a chance to block blades or punishing strikes. There were wrist straps too, which helped keep everything snug during parkour leaps and rooftop chases. Beyond defense, the suit had a handy pocket near the left hip that stored Matt's billy clubs. Those clubs evolved into a more versatile twin baton system with a cable feature. It boosted Matt's range, let him swing between buildings, and gave him a new method to tangle up criminals from a distance. Key capabilities of the upgraded red suit. Added armor plating over both red and black areas. Carbon nanotube-based helmet that's tough to crack. Reinforced gloves with alloy gauntlets for deflecting weapons. Built-in storage for an advanced billy club with a near unbreakable cable. Suit 4, the third suit, stolen by Poindexter. Wilson Fisk eventually returned to his old tricks. This time, he roped in Melvin Potter again under threat of violence and forced him to create another Daredevil suit, but Matt never got to wear it. Instead, Benjamin Poindexter, nicknamed Dex, put it on and went on a rampage, killing folks while pretending to be Daredevil. As if Matt didn't have enough on his plate, now half of New York thought he'd lost his mind and turned evil. Dex's version of the suit was basically a perfect replica. It had the same durable materials, bullet resistance, and reinforced plating that Matt enjoyed in his second upgrade. Trouble was, Poindexter didn't fight like Matt. He liked to fling projectiles with pinpoint accuracy, and the suit's armor meant that he could get up close without much fear of serious injury. Matt found out firsthand that Dex could shrug off normal punches, so Matt had to punch harder, or get creative with something like Muay Thai ropes to break through that sturdy armor. Key capabilities of the third suit stolen by Poindexter. Nearly identical to Matt's upgraded red suit, high-end bullet resistance and reinforced body sections, same tough helmet design letting Dex endure heavy impacts, made it tough for Matt's normal strikes to knock Dex out. Suit 5, the 2018 red suit. A few years down the line, Matt still wouldn't give up the mission. He faced off again with a resurgent Wilson Fisk, now fully back to his kingpin ways, and wore a fresh red suit. It looked similar to his prior gear but had slight tweaks to the cowl and torso. Melvin Potter's fingerprints were all over it once again, even if Matt never directly said so. This suit took advantage of everything Matt learned from his earlier fights. The bullet-resistant sections covered more of his torso, giving him a better chance against standard gunfire. He also had refined headgear which shielded him from heavier hits. Maya Lopez landed a kick with her prosthetic leg on his skull and the suit held up. That moment proved the cowl's strength, although it left Matt's ears ringing for a while. He also had upgraded batons that could clip neatly into his belt. They were simpler than some past versions, no fancy grappling cables here, but they were sturdy and made from the same near indestructible alloy. Key capabilities of the 2018 red suit. Redesigned cowl to protect against heavier blunt force, expanded bulletproof coverage around the chest and midsection, revised streamlined batons made from near indestructible materials, perfectly functional for nighttime stealth and aerial maneuvers. Suit 6, the golden suit from Los Angeles. By 2025, Matt's law practice took him to sunny LA, where he met designer Luke Jacobson, an eccentric tailor specializing in hero outfits. Matt ordered a fresh Daredevil design with a bolder color scheme, gold in place of some of the classic red. People teased him by calling it ketchup and mustard, but Matt rolled with it because Jacobson's craftsmanship was top-notch. Alongside the suit, Jacobson updated Matt's billy clubs, making them sleeker and easier to store. When Leapfrog kidnapped Jacobson, Matt had to slip into his new golden getup to save the day. It withstood She-Hulk's thunderclap, which hurled him into a car. He survived without more than a bruise, proving the armor's sturdy plating and well-distributed impact resistance. The cowl horns also stayed intact throughout that fiasco, though Matt had to carefully remove the entire suit later that night thanks to an unexpected encounter with Jennifer Walters. He eventually wore it home, strolling barefoot through the morning light, mask under his arm. Even after all these years, the suit still balanced stealth, flexibility, and enough protection to handle superpowered threats. A well-aimed strike might dent or crack it, but you'd need to be on Poindexter's level to make that happen. Key capabilities of the golden suit from LA. Striking gold and red color scheme for a new look, durable plating that can absorb shockwaves and heavy impacts, updated batons custom made by Luke Jacobson, retains enough flexibility for flips and spins despite stronger armor. Marvelous conclusion, putting it all together. From black pajamas to the golden LA suit, each one pretty much reflects Matt Murdock's evolution as a man and a man without fear. He started off with nothing but grit and unadulterated agility and discovered that sometimes you need an actual shell to keep you standing. Whether it's bulletproof plating, carbon nanotube helmets, or near indestructible batons, every version has improved on the last iteration. He fights in defense of a city that never stays quiet, and each suit is a testament to how Daredevil rises to that challenge, horns and all. These were Matt Murdock's suits. Now, I've left out an animated version because I was wondering if you'd want to help me out with some information about it. Let us know what you know about that suit in the comments down below, and we look forward to reading them. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Otherwise, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.